What's good? What's good? I know it's late in the U.S., early in Africa, but welcome to Afro-Sundays. Appreciate everyone that tunes in and show love. Let me see who in the building. Mr. G, what's good? What's good? Hope all is well, man. I'm gonna drop the link too, man. If anybody wanna chime in on this conversation. I think it'll be a very interesting discussion. Let me copy and paste this real quick. Let's see, Control C. What up, Jay? What's good, man? What's good, man? How you living, man? Where you at? Jay the homie, man. So I want to talk about, shout out to brother O'Shea on the Kinganda channel, man. I want to talk about a couple of videos that he posted, and it kind of relates to particularly women, Black women, having issues in Africa, specifically East Africa. So I wanted to talk about that, kind of react to that, and then kind of get some feedback and comments. Portmore. He said, "You in Nyash-land?" No. I'm not in Nyash-land anymore, man. Oh man, that's funny. So the topic is about why do East Africans, I'm gonna throw South Africans in there too, not all, but some. Why do they want Black Americans to go to West Africa? I want to share some comments people made on some videos, and then we'll kind of get into discussion. Let me pull this up real quick. So I did a couple streams with O'Shea on his channel and Kinganda channel, and they did a vid. I'll try to play some, but he did a vid. This first one I'm gonna kind of talk about. He titled "African Americans Are Being Forced to Leave Africa for This Reason." So I'm gonna try to play just some bits of it, and we'll kind of go from there.
In Tanzania, glad they left Tanzania, never wanted to return to Tanzania. Let's check it out.
The reason I left Tanzania. Okay, so the number one reason why I left Tanzania is because I was getting scammed numerous times. Was I scammed? I left Tanzania and I've been back in the US for almost 2 months. And for me, it was the best decision that I could have ever made for my future and for my son's future. I was on Facebook and I saw that someone posted a picture of them.
So real quick, before I play more, and before I show this other video, there is a trend I see, especially with Black American women, that they are coming to Africa with their children. Basically, they're coming as single mothers.
I'm holding up 500 T-shillings. It seemed like they were trying to say that's how much you would have to pay. You would only have to pay 500 T-shillings to fill up your car, which is, I think they said, less than 50 cents. The situation for me this time was a visa issue. And I'll go into that in another video. I just feel like it's so much to tell and I need to give the details of that. However, that situation was rectified for me, but at the last minute after I decided that I was leaving to go home. And there is, someone there in Tanzania.
So real quick, another thing a lot of people don't look into is the visa categories and the qualifications, the types of visas these countries have. I've studied Tanzania as well, so I'm going to talk about, Tanzania in regards to visas as well.
That I believe would be great for diasporans to, to help them make sure that they get their visas and all the paperwork that they need, and to just, not get scammed, and someone that's trustworthy. As far as I am concerned, I did what was right for me and what was best for me. It didn't matter what anyone had to say to me.
And this is not uncommon. Let's check out Traveling Sister, who is an African American.
All right, so shout out to JG. He says, it's hilarious that these African American women thought they could bring their bus over to East Africa the way they are, the life they have lived, and with the mindset they have, and thought they'd be Gucci. Yeah. Yes. We're gonna get more into that. But yeah, it is hilarious, man. And I've seen a lot of clips on social media comparing passport sis or passport queens to passport bros, and the outcomes is drastically different. And the expectations. Passport bros tend to find what they're looking for. Passport sisters or passport queens, they tend to not find what they're looking for overseas. I'll dissect that as well.
American, formerly in the Navy, now living in Tanzania, and she interviewed this brother by the
people made the assumption it was the same thing here. So like you said, there was a mass influx. We've been here a little while. There was years, I tell people all the time, there was years if I ever saw a Black British person or a Black American person, it was a very unique experience. And you'd be like, yo, what's up? We have to talk, because you just be meeting a lot of white people and never any Black people from the diaspora. But now you can't go to a cafe or KFC or Pizza Hut or any bar without seeing a whole group of African Americans and Black British, which is an amazing thing.
Right.
But I feel like people didn't do their research about what Tanzania is,
Exactly. People don't do their research. People do not do their research.
I tell people all the time here, but I guess it's like this all over the world. It's pay to play. Like nothing's free here, So I don't know.
Oh, so he brought up a good point. He said it is pay to play. Nothing is free here. There's no government assistance. There's no victim, help me because I'm a victim, or I come from this situation. Nothing is for free. Most Africans don't, I don't want to say they don't care, but they don't know about our plight in the first place. And that's something I have to learn the hard way too. They do not know about our plight. And I'm gonna fast forward to part. I think
when I think Ghana did the year of the return.
Okay.
Expectation on going there was to feel like this warm welcome, like I was gonna go in the airport or people recognize me as American or Black American, and just I thought I was gonna get welcome home or welcome to the motherland. Like I was imagining how people said they were received when I think Ghana did the year of the return.
Okay.
But that didn't happen.
Right.
So I didn't feel like that warm welcome. And then when I talked to people about it, they just said that, they just don't know too much about what it means to be Black in America. And
so here I was talking about, he had asked me about the reception I got when the first time I went to Africa. And a lot of us Black Americans, we kind of assume that people will recognize like, wow, like, it must have took a lot for you to come to Africa after all the negative stereotypes. And, you want to connect to the homeland to see your brothers and sisters. Welcome. You know what I mean? Like, we welcome you. Now, a lot of countries don't really know about our history, or even probably know that we're even Black American at first to even embrace us like that. And I think a lot of people, Black Americans that travel to Africa, don't know. So that's why I kind of want to, spread the awareness on, what it's like traveling to Africa, different countries and different regions, because different regions have their own characteristics as well. So the kind of like the meat of the discussion I want to get to is some of the comments, because the comments really, some of the comments kind of rub me the wrong way. If any of you guys follow certain channels like Tariq, he always getting into it with what he called tethers, or people that kind of have some disdain for Black Americans, which in actuality they do represent the minority, but a lot of times it's surprising to even know that a lot of African people think the way they do. So I want to start with some of the comments. I'm gonna start with some of the comments that I personally took a screenshot of, and then I'll read some random comments as well. And if you guys have any questions or want to come up, I'll drop the link again. So if you can't read this, I'm gonna read it for you. So this one guy said, why do certain African Americans, Afro-Caribbeans, and African British people have more interest in Uganda, Tanzania, and South Africa, despite their ancestry deriving primarily from West Africa? The Bantu peoples of Uganda, Tanzania, and South Africa are indeed derived from West Central Africa and are genetically closely related to West Africans. However, people of the diaspora derive only a minority of our ancestry from Bantu people. For example, he said, I'm 82% West African and only 10% Bantu. So this comment echoes a lot of people's sentiments. It echoes a lot of people's sentiments. Let me see what I got in the chat. Salute, Rona Traveler. Salute, bro. So what he said echoes a lot of people's sentiments. So he said, why do African Americans choose East Africa or Southern Africa? So let's talk about that. So I'm gonna kind of give a male perspective, and I will try to give a female perspective. Any females out there, feel free to chime in. You know, want to get a female opinion. So we'll talk about why Black American women might travel to East Africa. So the only country I've seen a lot of Black women travel to, and they're Black women with kids, it has been Tanzania. Now, they said Tanzania was open during the pandemic. A lot of people came during that time, but Tanzania is probably one of the cheapest countries or affordable countries in East Africa, outside of maybe Ethiopia and things of that nature. But Tanzania is pretty cheap. So if someone's coming from the US on a fixed income, or they saved a certain amount of money up, you know, their money will most likely stretch further in Tanzania. So that's one thing. Another thing is, because just like guys have, you know, we have, you know, male groups, whether on Facebook, WhatsApp, and we talk about certain countries. Black women got groups too. They talk about Africa. They talk about different reasons too. Now, you know, they may talk about different things. They may talk about safety for their children. They may talk about love and relationships. You know, starting a business, safety, things of that nature. But a lot what they're not saying is why they chose Tanzania. And Tanzania not only has attractive women for the men, Tanzania is known for having attractive men as well. You know, so, you know, they're looking for love, marriage, you know, things of that nature. Maybe not, well, hopefully they don't have the expectation of a provider like they would get from an American, but they, you know, I mean, they tend to want a man that brings something to the table. That is something that I kind of scratch my head about, because why there are a lot of successful men in Tanzania, There are some. The ones that really got it like that, why would they go for an American woman, a Black American single mother, when Tanzania arguably has some of the most beautiful women in Africa, in my opinion. Out of all the countries I've been to, Tanzania has the most. I found the women to be the most attractive in Tanzania out of all the African countries I've been to as a whole. JG said it's wild to me to go to Africa permanently and not reconnect with Nigeria and Ghana and the rest of West Africa. That's a good point. I want to get into what makes these regions attractive. Corey Green says, salute, man, salute, bro. Appreciate you tuning in. JG said, these ancestors tossing in their grave for the shade being thrown, for the shade these people throwing with not reconnecting and setting up shop somewhere else. I bet, yeah, that's true. He said, oh, Swab Prince said, finally I caught you live, brother. Salute, homie. Salute, bro. Oliver said, to be honest, American Black women are very argumentative. Many times they refuse to humble themselves. Many times they refuse to, when integrating into a different culture, humility is paramount. Yes, you have to be very, show humility. He said, yes. MB Broker, he said, Tanzanian women better. Yeah, bro. Trust me, I was surprised myself, man. Because, I'm a big advocate of South Africa, man. But I can't lie, man. Like Tanzania, South Africa number 2 right now. But Tanzania definitely took the crown. Charles said, I never had any interest in West Africa outside maybe visiting Senegal. I feel the same. Let me read this next comment real quick. Let's see. It was a comment said, the countries in West Africa are less developed than Southern Africa, which is, I haven't been to West Africa, but I've heard that a lot. East Africa and Northern Africa. If anybody can attest to that, is West Africa less developed than the other regions of Africa? And then I made a comment. I said, from my observations, Black men are more attracted to Eastern and Southern African women, while Black women are more attracted to West Africa. Most Black Americans share 25 to 50% Nigerian ancestry. However, we feel no connection to Nigeria. Nothing about Nigeria makes us want to visit as a whole. Lastly, West Africa is too expensive and too many visa requirements. So that is kind of like the reality in a lot of ways. Black men, you see it in the passport bro community. Black men are attracted to what they deem to be exotic, whether it's a lot of guys with a different skin tone than they're accustomed to, a different phenotype. And so West Africa does favor Black American women the most. And a lot of Black men just want something, more exotic, to be better put it. So East Africa is definitely different visually. Southern Africa is different visually. So a lot of guys are attracted to those regions. Also, and I'm speaking for the men, also women in Eastern Africa and Southern Africa genetically don't have the amount of testosterone that West Africans have. And it's not, I don't want to put it as a negative, but Black American women get penalized for it. West African women going to get penalized for it, just a highly high testosterone. So what does testosterone do? Testosterone makes you more aggressive. It makes you have more muscle mass, which can make you bigger, stronger, taller. And for a lot of men, they want a more feminine type of woman. And a lot of men, Black men, associate that with women of less testosterone. You know, I don't know what you guys think about that. Charles said, I prefer Northern Africa or East Africa. I speak Arabic fluently, so I can integrate in North Africa very easily. Oh, that's what's up. Is Arabic a difficult language to learn? Just curious. Corey said, crazy hearing you say that now because you got me booking my first trip to Durban. No, Durban is, South Africa is more fun in Tanzania. It's more fun. Tanzania is just more safer, and they on average they have more attractive women. You know what I mean? But like I said, I think South Africa in a lot of ways is number 2 to Tanzania. But Tanzania is not as fun. Tanzania is a little bit more boring for me. So that's kind of how I look at those two. Corey said, what do you like more about Tanzanian women opposed to South African women? I just more aesthetics. You know what I mean? They just a little bit more, how should I say this? They're more curvier. They're more curvier. They're a little bit more toned. I think there's a difference in diet in Tanzania versus South African. So there's a lot of people in South Africa that do not eat healthy. It's a lot of fast food, a lot of fries with everything. So you do see more overweight. You do see more overweight women or out of shape women in South Africa. It is what it is. Tanzania, different diet, different habits. So that kind of attributes to aesthetics and things of that nature. Let's see. Charles says, he said, I don't find West African women attractive except Hausa and Fulani women. What country is that? I never heard those terms. Yeah, that's true. JG said, I think the Western powers made sure West Africa was more difficult to freely navigate through, especially Nigeria. Blacks as a whole control trillions. Imagine all that wealth being brought home. Interesting point. I will say this: the United States, out of Africa, the United States has probably the best political relationships with West African countries. He says, so Tanzania over Kenya. I wouldn't say that. I haven't been to Kenya, but everybody raves about Kenya, so I have to visit. They're neighboring countries. I always just say visit both. Visit both. They're right there. Flights are cheap between the countries. Visit both. Oliver said, I heard booty was invented in South Africa. I don't know, man. Tanzania might have something to say about that. Let's see. Oh, Tanzania is definitely more conservative. There's not as many people, women specifically, that use like dating apps, social media. So conversely, they don't have as much influence. They're not influenced as much by social media, but two, the English language isn't as prevalent as in South Africa. So the more English people speak, the more they can be influenced by social media. JG said, when Nigeria gets electricity stability, it's going to be significantly more influential on the continent than it already is. It's called the giant Africa for a reason. Mr. G said, it might be a tie between TZ and SA. I've had this TZ girl praise the South African woman. The ones that's fine in South Africa is fine. Like the 8s, 9s, and 10s in South Africa is like cold. Cold. The average South African woman versus the average Tanzania woman, I just give it to TZ. But when we start talking about the dimes in South Africa, the women, they are bad. They are cold. He said, which would you recommend for a quick 2-week trip? 1 week in one country, 1 week in one country, or 1 week in city in a country? I would say if you got 2 weeks, I would definitely do 2 weeks. I would say do 2 weeks, 2 countries. 2 weeks, 2 countries instead of doing 1 country, 2 cities. If it's East Africa, I would say, between 4 countries, I would say between Rwanda, Kenya, Tanzania, and even Uganda, I would do 1 week in each. Charles said Hausa and Fulani are all throughout West Africa, but they are concentrated in northern Nigeria. Okay. I plan on doing an African ancestry this year so I can see what my paternal tribe points to. So I kind of talked about why men are attracted to like Southern and East Africa. Like I said, Black women being attracted to Tanzania, and they have kids. It ties a lot to economics. Tanzania being, the most probably economical / affordable country in East Africa. You don't see a lot of Black women. You don't see a lot of Black women going to South Africa because it's more expensive. And, like I said, when you have kids and you got a fixed income and savings, it's, it's not attractive. And then two, we're talking about Black American women. They do have physical preferences too, typically taller men. And so a lot of women in South Africa even say that the average South African men aren't as tall as, let's say, a West African man and some East African men too. So that's kind of why, a lot of Black women are, focusing on like Tanzania. Why not West Africa? So I'm going to give my opinion on why not West Africa. Then I'm going to continue to read some of the comments about that. So I'm speaking for myself, but I'm going to speak for a lot of people. So I'm going to talk about Black men first. So Black men aren't really flocking to West Africa for a lot of reasons. One reason is there's visa, especially like Nigeria and Ghana. There's a visa process. We can't just go in and out like we can do most of these countries. And not like the visa, not like that we're not worried about not getting a visa, but it's just the extra hurdle you got to do to go to a country that supposedly is in your lineage. So people just don't want to go through the visa process. I heard Nigeria, is kind of tedious. I don't know if you have to do an interview or you have to send in your passport, but they don't even have like the e-visa, like Ethiopia, for example. You just, in Uganda, really pretty much most of the East African countries, you just go online and submit some information, and then you get your e-visa pretty much electronically. You good. With some of these West African countries, you physically got to turn in your passport. They're basically treating you like somebody that's trying to travel to the U.S. from another country. So you got those things that people don't, a lot of Black men don't want to deal with. Also, Black men, we tend to go to countries based on reports we get from other Black men. And most of the reports have not been good when it comes to West Africa. You have to deal with the cost. A lot of people say it's very expensive to really like do things that you like to do in, let's say Nigeria and or Ghana. The flex culture, one of my homies, shout out to GMT Travels, he say, the flex culture, the popping bottles, we already know Nigerians do it big in the US. I could just imagine what they do in Nigeria. So you got that. And then two, Black American men, like we're used to kind of being the ones that are in better words, like looked up to, but I don't want to say that like we big brother or something like that. But we're when we're in our country, we get respect. we get a certain level of respect and admiration from other African men. And conversely, we should give them the same level of love and admiration to men. But sometimes in these African countries, they want to show you that they want to make you know, they want to make you aware that that you're not in the US. And that's the things that happen sometimes. I think Austin said people wanted to like be confrontational with him. And so what I alluded to earlier, you get a lot of more highly testosterone people and men and women in West Africa. And some men just don't want to be in their environment where they're not on their home court advantage. Being flexed on, being taunted, being tested, because you got to be humble in these countries. Not saying men in these other regions of Africa don't try to test you and size you up, but you're definitely going to get it more in West Africa. And I would say, last but not least, Black American men just don't find West African women as attractive. Not saying they're not attractive, but Black men tend to find Southern, Eastern African women more attractive. So men are going to go to regions of Africa where they find the women are more attractive, where their money can go the furthest. And I mentioned the testosterone situation. Men have more testosterone, bigger, stronger, more aggressive nature. So that's pretty much it. Now, what is a surprise is that why aren't a lot of women going to West Africa? Why? I could understand men, but the women I don't understand. Let me catch up on some of the comments. Corey said, I'm going to need to book you for a consultation. Yes, sir. Anytime, bro. Hit me on Instagram, or you can email me, noexcuseent@gmail.com. Swab Prince said, which country in Africa can you stay in the longest? I'm thinking about touring Africa for a few years. Want to know where to start. So I'm gonna drop this gem for you. So you can Google. Let me bring it up. Wikipedia has so much information. So I'm gonna Google this term called visa requirement, and you could do this for any country. So if you want to find out if your lady or your boo from a different country, if you want to find out what countries they could travel to visa free, it'll tell you if they need a visa, and it'll tell you how long you can stay. I'm gonna do visa requirements for United States citizens. I'm gonna put it up on the screen too. So I'm gonna drop this gem for you guys. You can Google this term for any country, and it'll break it down. So let me share this real quick, and then I will get back to the questions, because this is kind of good to know. So I want to make sure that I get this information to you guys. All right, so make sure y'all can see it. Let me bring it up a little bit. Make sure y'all can see it. All right, so you can Google this, but where you see at the top it says visa requirements. So you could do this for any country. You could do visa requirements for. I did it for Colombia. Visa requirements for Kenyan citizens. It'll give you visa requirements for any country. So, so I don't know which country you want to look into, but it's basically a column for the country and allow stay. It'll tell you 90 days, 180 days. So, I mean, I'm not going to go through, all the African countries, but a lot of them are like 30 days. Let me look up Kenya real quick. Let's see. Kenya. So right now, Kenya is 90 days. Now, countries like Tanzania, one of the countries, I think it's like 30 days. I think it's like 30 days. Let's see. Or okay, TZ is 90 days as well. But there are some countries that's like 30 days and things of that nature. So I just wanted to just share that with you guys on that tip. Let's see where I'm at with the comments. He said, which is cheaper for food and Airbnb? Oh, that's a tough one, man. I mean, I paid a lot of money for TZ in Uganda, but maybe because it was December. The thing is, if you want something nice, it's gonna cost money. It's gonna cost money. So the housing part of TZ is a little bit more cheaper on lodging. I would say that Uganda, and it depends on what part of Uganda too. Like if it's Kampala is very expensive for what you would expect for that country. But once you go outside of Kampala, it's not that bad. But I'll definitely give the edge to Tanzania for sure. Let's see. Charles says Southern African and East African women are more attractive than West African women. I love those Botswana, Swaziland, and South African women phenotype. Yeah. But I will say this though. People might not want to hear it though, but the what's a YouTube friendly way to say this? The H ends with a V rate is the highest in Southern Africa. I mean, I looked at the data, and the top 5 countries are all in Southern Africa, like South Africa, Botswana, Lesotho, Eswatini, Namibia, Zimbabwe. Like it's a hotspot. You know what I mean? That's the only thing. You have to be very careful in Southern Africa. Very, very careful. But fortunately, we have the technology, medicine, where you could prevent certain things from happening. You know what I mean? So we live in a better state to manage that. Swile Prince said, also, brother, what shots did you have to take? I didn't have to take any shots. I mean, I do have the yellow fever vaccine, which I got when I was in Brazil, because at the time people was like, you could get it free. And I think they still give it free or at a discounted cost in Brazil, maybe in other countries as well, but it's expensive if you get in the United States. So if you're like traveling to one of these countries and you got time, a lot of times you can get the yellow fever vaccine for free or at a low cost. So that's just something to keep in mind. Ethiopia doesn't require it for Americans. South Africa doesn't require yellow fever for it. Applying for the East African visa, I think you have to show proof of yellow fever. But South Africa and Ethiopia, I know that they don't require it for Americans. Oliver said, I really dug your video of the Ethiopian brother dropping knowledge. I want to go for the cultural and historical exploration. Do you think it's wise to go right now with the civil issues? I mean, Addis is. I went during a turbulent time, but Addis was okay. I don't think it will be a perfect time to go to Ethiopia. I just think you just gotta go. Definitely can connect you with the brother if you want to do a tour. I mean, obviously he charges, but he's a great tour guide. He has a company, and he'll take care of you. Charles says West Africa is underdeveloped in contrast to other regions. Okay. Even Ghana. Also, as an African American, were you treated any differently there? Which countries? So I want to kind of elaborate on Black women in West Africa. So a lot of Black women are attracted to West African men in general. So there are examples of lots of Black American women relocating to West Africa. I interviewed a lady And she told me about a situation where this woman was in Ghana and she got a reality check arguing with like a taxi driver in Ghana. And I don't know what escalated, but he slapped her. And so she got out the taxi wherever they was at, and a woman's reaction would be, maybe crying, screaming, yelling, pointing at him like he just put his hands on me. Now, the reaction you would get in the United States is you would get people running to her defense, regardless of what she did or what transpired. People are going to run to her defense. The contrary happened. The people were looking at her like, what did she do to get slapped? And she felt so like defeated to see that. You know what I mean? And so that's another example. Another example is, I think the same lady, she talked about what she learned about custody and inheritance. So I didn't know this at first, and this isn't limited to West Africa, but when it comes to inheritance, in a lot of these African countries, inheritance gets passed on to the son and not the daughter, because it's with the idea that the daughter will get married and be taken care of, by a husband. So they want to kind of keep assets in the bloodline, which I personally think makes a lot of sense. You have this wealth and you pass it to your daughter, and she gets married to an African man. It's really, and he's the leader, so it's pretty much in this man control that's not your son. And so they want to put inheritance in the hands of the sons to keep it in that bloodline. So, a lot of Black women realize, like, look, okay, this is what a patriarch looks like. This is what a patriarch looks like. Things getting passed down to the son and not the daughter. And what was the other example I wanted to bring with the pay? Oh yeah, when it comes to child custody. So in a lot of times, pretty much most of the time, what I've heard in West African countries, like specifically like Nigeria or Ghana, the man if there's a divorce or split, the man takes the kids. He pretty much has first right of refusal when it comes to child custody in West Africa, which is totally against Western norms. So those are things that a lot of Black women realize or run into, that they are now in a patriarch. Some women can adapt and and be cool with it. Some women realize, like, I feel safer under the rules of my home country, back to the US. So that's something that a lot of women are realizing. But nevertheless, the women that are attracted to West Africa are typically attracted to West African men. There's nothing, in my opinion, that's attractive outside of the men for the women, for them to go there. So that's why a lot of women, when they're thinking about economics and their dollar stretching the furthest, yes, they're going to East Africa primarily because of that. And there are Black women that do want an exotic looking man, and Tanzania offers that for a lot of women. JG said, no excuse, my Nigerian coworker invested $250K in a house in Nigeria. That would be worth around 1.5 million in the US. Nigeria, unlike other countries, allow you to actually own land and not lease it. That's not true, brother. You can't own freehold land in Nigeria. I'll check again, but from my research, most countries, there's only 4 countries that allow freehold, and those are all in Southern Africa. But there's so much corruption in Nigeria. Infrastructure. I think the homie Nakmeezy pointed out, he was like, Nigeria took #1 in the country where they have the most open defecation. If you people don't know what defecation means, that means basically taking a crap outside. They said Nigeria is like #1 with that. You know, I mean, Tariq Nasheed made it. You know, sometimes he jokes, he gets in arguments, and he mentioned that you could be in West Africa, and a man can have a business suit on. He walking home, and he'll go in the bush and take a crap in a business suit. So, that's I don't know what it's like living there. You know what I mean? Culturally, maybe they have a lack of sanitation or things of that nature. But there's a lot of things that just the amount of things that are turn people on, and there's just probably a lot of things that are turn people off about West Africa though. But I do plan on going to West Africa probably next year. I'm only interested in 3 countries, which are Sierra Leone, Liberia, and the Gambia, because they're English-speaking countries, and I personally don't want to go to any country that was colonized by the French, because they're still, they're in so many ways they're still colonized. JG said it sounds like a lot of black men just don't want to put forth the effort to go to West Africa, but the best things in life ain't free. They require the most effort usually. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But you can't help what people can't. You can't. I mean, I'll turn blue in the face trying to convince guys to date black Latinas versus regular Latinas. Like, I'll be like, why y'all won't give the Afro Latinas a shot? Why y'all just talking to the whiter ones? But at the end of the day, like, I can't argue what people are attracted to. And so if men find, if Black American men find East African, Southern African women more attractive, then it is what it is. JG said, I doubt black men don't find West African chicks attractive. If that's true, then black men wouldn't deal with Black Americans at all. We literally, that's a good point. So I'm not, I'm not referring, I wouldn't refer to the black men that date American women. I'm more talking about passport bros, because passport bros are the ones that are done dating American women and are traveling to these countries in higher numbers than guys that are not passport bros. So I just want to make that distinction. Oliver said, I'm just happy brothers are visiting the continent in general instead of Latin America and Asia. Me too. I'm glad more people are doing that. He said, what's less expensive? TZ is less expensive overall. And like I said, anybody, I'm going to drop the link again. If anybody interested in coming up and joining the conversation, I'm going to drop the link. Let me read. I want to read another comment from the chat from this video. So somebody said, descendants of enslaved Africans sent to Americas and the Caribbean were all West Africa to a lesser extent. Okay, I think I read this part already. Somebody said, the crazy thing in the world, I saw someone in Tanzania that looks just like my father and brother, despite my African ancestry. I think I said, I don't like the notion that Black Americans need to go to West Africa to connect to their roots. We are a mix of different African countries. So I have a take. And when I did my African ancestry, well, not African ancestry, when I did my ancestry and I did 23andMe. Yes, get the likes up, man. Get the likes up. If you're not subscribed, definitely would appreciate you to subscribe. So yeah, we are a mix. When I say we, I'm speaking of Black American. We are a mix of a lot of different African countries. So when I did mine, I was like 40% Nigerian, and then something, then like smaller percentage in like Congo, Namibia, and then other parts of West Africa. So nothing in East Africa, I will say that. But in general, we still are a mixed race, Black Americans, and a lot of people obviously don't know that. But once we start breaking down our genetics, our lineage, we are mixed. That's why Black Americans, we don't really look like a particular country or region in Africa, because we're mixed. We're technically mixed Africans. That's how I describe us. That's why a lot of people find Black Americans attractive, because by nature we associate anything mixed being attractive, whether it's black and white, or different groups of Black people mixing. So by us being a mixed group of Black people, I personally think is not fair to just say we need to just connect to West Africa, because we're very diverse and mixed as Africans. Let's see. So I had responded to this guy earlier. He said, "Yet you feel more a connection to African countries, which you derive little or no ancestry. Strange." So let's talk about the connection. The connection. A lot of people project what they think how you should feel and want. And so my thing is this: it's hard to have a connection to a region or country when we were raised in America under our culture. And I think I want to educate some Africans on this. Like I remember this one young lady said, the most attractive females in Africa I've had were from Uganda. She had too much cake as well. It was this young lady that we kind of like debated about. And she kept trying to say, I appreciate you liking South Africa, but you can't expect us to embrace you because enslaved people wasn't from South Africa. And she basically trying to tell me West Africa is your homeland, and that's where you should try to get a connection to. And what people don't understand is that it's one thing, put it like this: if you're Asian American, right, but that when you were raised, okay, I was born, I was born in America, my parents were, but we could connect to Korea, let's say Korean culture, then yeah, if you're that person, yeah, you're probably I want to go back to Korea to connect to my roots because I know this about myself. Black Americans are different. We can't, without DNA involved, we weren't able to connect to any country. So we just say Africa. That has been perpetuated. And I would say this DNA stuff really didn't really get mainstream until I would say the 2000s. So for decades and decades, we only were fed that we're African, right? We didn't even get fed that we were Nigerian or West African. It was always Africa. So that's why our connection is always to the continent and not a particular country. And people have to understand that our connection is to the continent, not a particular country. So by it being connected to the continent, we feel like we could go to any country and have a connection because that's kind of how we were conditioned and brought up. We wasn't brought up with Nigerian culture. I personally, and somebody could correct me or point something out, I don't see Nigerian culture even in Black American culture. I don't see it in our food because we develop soul food, which is totally different than traditional Nigerian dishes. We make the fried chicken, the cornbread, the candy yams, the mac and cheese, the collard greens. We've perfected our cuisine, which we call soul food. So we don't have food like we don't have West Africa. I'm gonna use Nigeria for example. We don't have Nigerian in our culture as far as food. We don't have Nigeria in our culture as far as music. So and arguably, Black Americans, we're responsible for a lot of these genres out today, whether it's soul, R&B, hip hop, etc. So we've created our own genres of music, and food and music pretty much creates the identity for a culture. So we have nothing. There's nothing about Nigeria culture that's in us. It's foreign. We wasn't raised. We don't even do weddings. We don't even do weddings like Nigerians do. We don't even know our tribes. So when people say you need to connect to, let's say, Nigeria, for example, how can we? We wasn't raised on that. We don't know anything about their culture. We don't know anything about the language. We don't know anything about none of the African countries. So, and I'm going to say this and reiterate again. So our connection is to the continent, not a particular region. Let me catch up on some of the comments real quick. Okay, I got you on a tour guide. Charles says, Islam says the son gets the bigger inheritance since he will fulfill the father's legacy. Daughters build legacy with the husband. Yeah, that's how patriarchs operate. I am pro-patriarch. Oliver said, in general, I think it's just harder for women to travel for love. Yeah, that's the truth of the matter, especially if you're a single mother. But you got to think, even in the United States, the high value men, American women get first dibs on high value men. The Jay-Z's of the world, the LeBron James of the world. American women got first dibs. You know what I mean? They're gonna put they are the most they have the highest chance of bagging those men besides a foreign woman. And conversely, in these African countries, those women are going to have first dibs on a high value man. And so you can't bring, you're not, I don't know African culture enough to say this, but I don't see African men marrying single mothers, not even in their own country, better yet, an American woman. And I think that passport bros and passport sis are different in that way because passport bros can say, I'm looking for, passport bro has something to offer. So we can say, so you can be a fat passport bro, you can be not too attractive, you can be short, you can have a small penis. You can, as long as you bring in your American resources, you can find the woman that you're looking for. You can find a woman. When it comes to a Black woman, African men, they want what they got in Africa. They want, a lot of times they got the pick of the litter. They could marry a virgin. They can marry a woman where they deem is not promiscuous. A lot of times they're not looking for a woman to bring something to the table financially because they by nature they look at themselves bringing that to the table. But a lot of African men, they're gonna want to dominate their relationship, to be dominant over their relationship. And a lot of times, when it comes to cheating, a lot of times women turn the other cheek because those men are provider. Now, a lot of Black women, they look at what they can offer is this is what a lot of women do, and I'm not limited to black women, but this is what a lot of women do. I've heard white women say this too. They will get turned off from a African man asking them for money, right? And they're, you know, I mean, they have a lot of baggage they bring into the table, whether they're very older, they got children, etc. And so they don't like to feel like they're helping a man financially. So what a lot of these women mindset is that I will build him up. You know what I mean? I will help him start a business. I will help him be a provider. Now, in some situations, you know, they may be able to, you know, to do that, to sow into that man and him to be a provider. But they're not looking to take care of a man. So ultimately, it doesn't really make the woman more attractive than their women. You know, now they may get taken advantage of. They may be, you know, they may say, okay, I'll do what I got to do to go to her country or get a visa, get myself up. But by nature, they want a certain hardware in a woman. And a lot of women are not understanding that. Like, if you want an African man, and you're an American or come from the West, it's just nearly impossible, because you're coming from a certain, put it like this, if you're coming from Europe or the United States, you can find a man that can make more money than you, that has a higher earning potential than you. You go to Africa, your earning potential is most likely more than theirs. And then, like I said, if there is high value men, they got the pick of the litter. And you want them to be faithful as well, because you know, Western women, they want all these things. They're like, I want him to make a certain amount of money, I want him to be loyal. They already shooting down like most of their opportunities out the window with that. You know, not saying men in Africa can't be loyal, but if you're a high value man, like it is what it is. So, you know, it's a scenario I call, you know, crash and burn. Now I will say this, and I'm gonna catch up on the comment. I will say this: Nigerian men, I would say out of all African men, Nigerian men tend to have married the most African American or Black women I've seen in the United States. I've seen that. However, the women that I've seen Nigerian men marry in the United States, these women were very attractive, a lot of times college educated. Now they probably didn't get a Black American guy, probably because maybe men probably found them intimidating, or a lot of Black American men are considered stingy. So Nigerian men, you know, aren't the stingy type, at least in the U.S. And so I've seen those unions. But like I said, the women typically are very attractive, because a lot of there's a lot of Nigerian men, they will say that they find Black American women more attractive than Nigerian women. So Black American women do have an advantage when it comes to some West African women, when it comes to looks. But they're looking for Black women with no kids, attractive, and has education. Those are things that I noticed. I would say in general, I think it's just harder for women to travel for love and relationship. Yes. He said, damn, they bypassed India. Yep, they bypassed them in open defecation. I would say Afro-Brazilian women, in my opinion, are the most attractive women in diaspora. Okay. Now, I'm gonna probably like say, you know, Afro-Colombianas, but Afro-Brazilians are baddies though. I won't debate you with that. Charles said Black American women are more attractive to the average. Yes, I just said that. I just attracted to the average West African woman. I don't even notice West African woman. Yeah, I feel like Black American women do have a competitive advantage when it comes to West Africa. So it's mind-boggling that they think they can compete with East African women, because I just think it's a different ballgame. However, said I've heard a few Africans call us mixed breeds, but I think they're referring to our European amateur. Interesting. Let's see. You can't. Okay. Let's see. Not just African, but European and Aboriginal. Charles said, I'm 77% African, 20% not African. Yeah, I think I'm like 90% African. I'm definitely like in the 90s. I'm definitely in the 90s, It was validated when I did my ancestry because, when I was in middle school and high school, people called me African. And hence, I'm 90% African. He said, yeah, I actually have Kenyan blood, mostly Mali, Cameroon, and Congo. Does Kenya, I don't want to throw rumors, but I think Kenya is a country that may offer citizenship if you can prove some ancestry. Charles said, I have zero connections to West Africa. I don't owe them anything, nor do they owe me anything. Wow. I feel you, man. I feel you. How do you have no West African genetics, though? I mean, not saying it's not possible, but if I'm assuming you're a Black American, unless it's certain regions of America where, they didn't really get a lot of West African enslaved people. Shout out to Corey Gray, man, for the $5 super chat. He says Durban and Nairobi for a week each. I would say Nairobi. Yes, those are good options because Durban is a 7-day-a-week city. Cape Town and Johannesburg are like more Friday, Saturday, Sunday city. So for 7 days, I got Traveling Tony in the background. I'm gonna bring him up. Bring him up as well.
Yeah, what up, bro?
What's good? What's good, bro?
Shit, just checking it. Up.
All right, cool. Let me answer this one question, man. I'm gonna get you to chime in. So yeah, I would say for South Africa, I would do Durban. Out of the 3 cities, I'll do Durban for a week. But if you got at least 3 days, man, I would do 3 days in Cape Town too, man, because Cape Town got Rands on Sundays, man. I don't know if you've seen my YouTube shorts, but Rands was going down on Sundays. But it's in a township though, so you got to plan for that. Charles Irby said the connection was severed. There's no culturally or social ties to the continent of Africa. And we got a perfect guess, man, because he's in East Africa. He said the DNA stuff doesn't help either. 7 different countries was in my results. How am I supposed to choose? That's true, man. Like, why I gotta choose one? Why I gotta choose? Charles said, I agree with the South African lady. That's why I travel as a Black American. I always display ethnic pride. He said jazz, blues, funk, soul, R&B, hip hop, techno, house. Okay. I didn't know techno and house and disco was attributed to Black Americans. He said your food choices, music, hobbies, etc. So much of that, the culture in Africa comes with slavery and wasn't wiped away completely. I don't know. Let me ask Tony this real quick. So I made a comment. I made a comment that said Black Americans, we don't really have anything that you can see like Nigerian culture in, like or even West African culture, like our food, our music. I don't see anything remotely close to Nigerian culture or West African culture. Do you see anything that we still do or practice that's West African?
No, maybe Caribbean places might have some aspects left, but as far as America, no. don't see none of that.
Yeah, I don't see it. Tamaja said, but they are connected to our music and culture, but they can exchange. And yeah, I mean, it is one of them things. It's like it's like a lot of white people. They mess with our culture, but they don't want to mess with us. He said, even though I've seen it mostly online. Let's see, West Africans have the most smoke for AAs. I would say this: I haven't encountered any of that until I got on social media. You see in the comments, but in person, I will say that Africans have always showed Black Americans respect in person. I haven't seen these beefs and riffs until like you see in social media comments. JG said, if you like hip hop growing up, what do you think the use of drums and powerful bass in damn near every song come from? Yeah, I mean, yes, we can't deny that drums and beats and come from. We can't deny that. I mean, that you see that in the diaspora, in the Caribbean. Yeah, I can't deny that. He said Nigerian brothers be marrying everyone. Yeah, they do be marrying everybody, man. That's a sign too. Tony says, see what the men are doing. Why are Nigerian men dating out heavily? And the last comment I have is Swab Prince said they need to give digital nomad visas in East Africa. The president's out there throwing money in the fire. All right, cool, bro. Cool. Oh, you can unmute yourself, man.
I was just letting you go through your comments or whatever. But
all right, cool. So yeah, man. I don't know what what you heard so far, man. But let me know if you got comments, man. You say what?
I just woke up like literally like a few minutes ago. I just got up. What were y'all talking about?
All right, so I was kind of reacting to O'Shea did a couple of videos, and there were specifically Black women that left Africa or East Africa because whether they didn't research the like visa laws, some didn't like the way that they felt that they were treated. Some had, the results of relationships didn't work in their favor, and all the women. The crazy thing is, all the women, at least 5 different women, they were all single mothers from the U.S. going to Tanzania.
It's a lot of those out here, though. It's a lot of them. It's a lot of single Black American chicks out here, single mothers.
So I want you to cook for a minute, man. So what are the odds?
Woke up, so let's go slow.
So what? Let's talk about the audacity. Women think that they're going to come to not just Africa, East Africa. I feel like Black American women, they have a chance in West Africa as far as the type of men that they want, because a lot of Black American women are very attractive, and probably a lot of West African men find Black American women very attractive. But once you go to East Africa and South Africa, the competition is way different when it comes from between women. So do you think women have a chance with like dating and relationships in Tanzania if she's a single mother?
No, not with Tanzania. I see a lot of Black Americans get with other Black Americans out here, especially the older ones. So you see a lot of Black American couples. There's a lot of Black American couples out here, believe it or not. So you could, I mean, it could work. I've seen one Black American chick married to a Tanzanian dude, but he was in a subservient position to her, obviously. It was like my first here 2 years ago. But like, I mean, they should kind of already get the dynamic, because you could be a dependent as a woman, but you can't be as a man. You know what I'm saying? So my situation reversed. If she was a Tanzanian guy and I was a woman, I would have a permanent visa. It would be so easy, but it's more difficult.
That's true. So Tanzania, and this is something I recently discovered, is that women, if you're a foreign woman and you're married to a Tanzanian, you kind of got more options as far as getting the being able to move to Tanzania on what they call permits or passes. Tanzania, unfortunately, if you're a male married to a Tanzanian woman, or if you have a child with a Tanzanian woman, they're not giving, you can't get residency through marriage or through children if you're a man. So it's very so the men in Tanzania, that's how they want to run their country. They don't need foreign men in their country, and they're showing it through their laws. So it's crazy. It's if you have a child or married to a Tanzanian woman, the only type of permanent residency options you have for the most part is a retirement visa, which in a lot of cases, if you're American, you probably can meet the thresholds to get a retirement visa. I don't think it's an age requirement. I just think it's an income requirement. So if you were making, I don't have the numbers, but if you're showing that maybe you got rental income in the U.S., maybe you got some disability, Social Security, retirement, or whatever type of income you could demonstrate that you could take care of yourself, you could get a retirement visa as a man. So it forces you to be a man if you want to live in Tanzania and get it through retirement. So I understand it. But so the topic of the conversation, Tony, was there's a lot of East Africans and South Africans I've talked to and seen in comments, and they always kind of say why aren't we going to West Africa? So I don't know if you got an opinion or comment about that, but that's kind of what we've been talking about.
So, from what I see, West Africa. Hey, thank you, man. I appreciate you, bro. Thank you. Yeah, no excuses to homie. So that's why I came just to chat with him. But I think it's the reputation that West Africans have, scamming. I lost my wallet in Tanzania, right? Someone obviously stole my wallet. They took all my cards, everything out of it, right? No one tried to run it up or nothing. And I think it's also because they don't really have the understanding of modern stuff like that, like going online and running it up, or taking your card to the gas station or whatever and using it. So it's cool. But if that was in West Africa, it would have been over. They would have ran up everything. You know what I'm saying? Because they do that. I have encountered a couple West Africans that tried to scam me out here. You know what I'm saying? Dude was trying to get my bank information. He came at me as we're friends, but there's cool ones too. I know some cool ones at the gym. I'm not saying all, but they do have that reputation, even amongst Africans. East Africans will tell you be careful with Nigerians. They don't really like Nigerians, so when they see us, that's what they see, Nigerians. So they staring at us to make sure we're cool. Nigerians are known for witchcraft and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And they believe in witchcraft here very heavily. Very, very heavily. So they're afraid Nigerians will hex them. It's weird. But us, we got bad reputation with Nigerians.
So I kind of went into I understand why a lot of black men, might be attracted to, let's say, East Africa and Southern Africa, but I never really understood why black women would be specifically attracted to East Africa, in particular Tanzania. What would make Tanzania attractive to a black American woman?
Bro, I honestly have no idea. I did not expect this. I think East Africa is just attractive to black Americans, period, because of the vibe. It's like a chill Caribbean. You know what I'm saying? It reminds you of DR, how it looks a little. The vibe is very Caribbean type relaxation. There's no danger. So I see why women would want to stay here, because you could walk at night as a girl and nothing would happen to you. You know what I'm saying? Same can't be said for every African country. South Africa, they own you.
That's a good point. I mean, if I was a woman I would want to be in the safest country. And what's crazy is this is how safe Tanzania is, right? So like if you Google like the State Department, you could Google like you could do a Google search and type a country and then type State Department. And then you go to the country's info page, it'll tell you like what level is that. Usually a level 1 is like the safest, then level 2, level 3, and level 4 is like don't go. You know, TZ was like a level 1, I think. It was like a level 1. It was like, I was like, damn, for Africa, it was like a level 1, bro. And the other country that was like a level 1 was like Rwanda. They was like really like considered like safe. And so I haven't looked at West Africa, but I don't even know if it's a level 1 in West African country as far as safety. Have you heard of any countries in West Africa that's considered safe?
Actually, no, not one country in West Africa. I heard that's like considered safer than a Tanzania or like Rwanda, like you said. I hear Rwanda's very safe as well.
So women are looking at safety, and I would assume economics too, right?
I would say for women, safety is probably more so a concern than for us, example, because they could literally be, raped in the street. That could, in some countries that happens, especially at night. So I think women, their number one is safety. Because there's a lot of Black American women in Tanzania and Kenya. And I was always trying to figure that out. There's like a Black American community in both countries, you know what I'm saying? Like a big one where people like meet up. In Kenya, there's like a singles lady thing, whatever. It's crazy, bro. Like we've literally made ourselves home in these countries. It's cool though, I think. I think it's pretty cool.
You think they have money? Like, 'cause I mean, I've heard women say that they packed up their things, sold everything they had, and dipped. Because a lot of women, from what I've seen, they don't look that old, like where they're getting like a pension or retirement, or even military benefits. So, I wonder what they're, how they're surviving. Like if they got like, money saved up, or if they're doing like remote work, or they got some online business or something. Because there's a YouTuber. She's been in Tanzania and South Africa, and she's talked about her struggles in TZ and South Africa. Shout out to Ashley in Africa. She came there with both her daughters. I think she's in South Africa now, but she's figuring it out. You know what I mean? She's gonna figure it out, but the struggles and challenges she went through, I'm sure most women are not gonna want to take that route. But yeah, do you think a lot of these East African countries are more affordable to live?
Definitely. I do think they're more affordable to live, man. Definitely more affordable, especially like Uganda's really cheap as well. Kenya's cheap. Tanzania, they're all cheap, especially if you live like a local. You don't have to live like, it just depends what you could afford, right? So obviously we're going to try to maintain the same quality of life we have in America overseas. But you will take some hits somewhere as far as like the roads and shit like that. It is what it is. You're going to take some hits.
Now, I know you had mentioned, I had asked you about like cost of rent, and like what you was telling me was pretty reasonable as far as what you could pay for rent. I know it was a couple, they left TZ because they said the owner was going up on rent, and so they kind of got turned off. But the rent prices. Let me read the super chat. JG, man, appreciate the $10 super chat. He said, no excuse. And Tony, please link up with Afro Think Tank YouTuber. Okay. He's an African-American brother who lives in Nigeria. and became a chief from his involvement in a community. I think he has a lot of info for you. Afro Think Tank. I'm gonna put it in my notes, man.
Dope.
He got
That's pretty
chief
dope.
status.
That's
Interesting.
dope.
I want to be a chief.
My wife's father was offered that position, but he turned it down because when you're like one of the, huh?
No, I thought it was like a bloodline thing.
No, like there's like a leader in every village. There's like a leader of every village, so you could get the position. It's almost like an elected official these days.
Wow,
But
that's
it's just more responsibility, though.
really. Can you get multiple wives at that point?
It depends on your religion, though. Like if you are Christian or Catholic or whatever, you can't. It's just in the law. You can't. If you're Muslim, I think Pentecostal, you can. But no, like they're very biblical. Like, for example, for my girl moving in with me, before the dowry was paid and stuff like that, her parents had to pay penance, so they needed to dig holes at the church. Her parents in their 40s, old. You know what I'm saying? They're very, very strictly religious. Actually, her little brothers couldn't get communion or something yet, or whatever it was. They couldn't get baptized. Until everything was finalized because of the mistake she made. It was like a shame to her family to get a Mzungu and not do it the right way or whatever, the traditional way.
Interesting. But you know what, JG, this is what I plan. This is what I'm gonna do. Next year. This is what I'm gonna do next year. Well, everything depends on how my African ancestry break down. It depends on how many years they go back. Because the further they go back, if they go back, let's say 5,000 years, it may place you in Africa. For some people that have more of a mixed race, they go back 10,000 years, it may place them in Europe. You know what I mean? So it depends on how many, thousands of years they go back. But whatever African country that I can say, that points to what my tribe is or region, I'm gonna do my own year of the return. Let's hypothetically say it's Nigeria, right? Even though I'm, apprehensive about going there, I'm going to reach out to whoever the tribe or community leaders are. I'm gonna make a documentary out of it. I'm gonna request or see if I could go through any rituals. I'm gonna make it like me. I'm gonna make it like really like a coming home experience. You know what I mean? So that's something I want to do next year. But this year I'm going to do my African ancestry to try to. I'm gonna do it for the paternal. Well, I'm gonna do it for the maternal and paternal. But yeah, I'm gonna get to the West. I'm gonna get to West Africa, but I don't want to go until I get those results. He said, man said 40-year-old. Yeah. I know, Tony, I know you want to travel throughout Africa as your time progresses on the continent. Do you plan on making your way to West Africa?
I did, but no, I don't really have any interest. I'm gonna let you do that, and you can tell me about it, and then I'll see if it's everything I heard about West Africa through people that went. East Africa is way better. Everybody just agrees East Africa is better.
Got you. JG said Africa Think Tank is a YouTube cheat. I mean, Yoruba cheat. I believe he's in Edo State. Okay. Yeah, some people, I mean, I don't know if I'm, I don't know where I would tie to, but some people probably say I could be Yoruba because I'm tall. But yeah, that'll be curious. Was a lot of times I would say this: Nigerian men get a lot of respect, highly desired by a lot of women. It was crazy because I went to this South Africa event in New Jersey, and I was there, filming. And it was a lady that approached. She just walked up to me, you know, and she was just like wanted to get my number and things of that nature. And she was like, she assumed that I was Nigerian. Like she didn't ask for anything like that. She was like, "What is?" She was like, "What's?" No, she was like, "Where you from?" And you know, I always say I'm American, right? And then she was like, "Okay, but where are your parents from?" And I was like, "Well, I got Nigerian in my ancestry." So she took it. When I told her that, she took it as that maybe my parents or grandparents were Nigerian. So she was like, "Oh, what's your tribe?" And you know, I was like, "I don't know." And like she kind of got turned off. Like whatever fantasy she had, like went away, you know, because I didn't know, you know, I didn't know. But I was just like, I'm American. And so I don't know what it is with some women that that are fascinated by tribes. I don't know if it's like genetics or if it's like a clout reputation thing, saying, my man, he's Igbo or Yoruba or whatever Nigerian tribes is. But a lot of women that thought I was Nigerian asked me what tribe. And I'm just like, I'm American. And so it's like, what are they really attracted to? Because initially they was attracted to me how I look, right? So I felt like it didn't matter where I was from if you attracted with like how I look. So, but once I told them I was American, or that I wasn't like Nigerian, they were and these are African women. They just seemed like turned off. So it's like, what is it about the tribe of Nigeria that women found attractive? Because obviously they found my phenotype attractive. The whatever extra layer they were looking for, they wanted it through the tribe. So it's I'm curious what women get from that. Is a reputation? Is it they want their kids to be a certain, their father to be from a certain tribe? I'm just curious. Oliver said Africa is mad tribalistic. Is one of the things, Taryn. Yeah, man, it is. It is. I'm not going to get into it too much on YouTube, but I was reading the history of Rwanda, and I'm kind of new to like reading up on it. But if anybody's familiar with Rwanda, they went through a civil war and a period of 100 days of mass genocide, and it was basically one tribe against the other, and I was just like, man, it tears it apart because us as Americans, we're not really. I mean, we don't have tribes. We are in different regions of the United States, but it's nothing about us that kind of divides us. You know what I mean? We just all black, whether you're from the West Coast, the East Coast, the South, the North. We just one big community. But yeah, what I seen, what happened in Rwanda's history is it's a very ugly time in history. South Africa has different tribes, but fortunately, I don't see, beefs or conflicts. They all are just one. They're all one South African. Melvin Riddle, what up? He said, I did my maternal African ancestry, which is the Fang tribe in Gabon. Okay. That's the maternal side. What you plan on having or getting the paternal side? Also, I listened to a few debates of foreigners and East Africans, and holy shit, man, it was hurtful to hear how bad. Yeah, man. So we kind of talking about some of the things they in some African countries with some of the tribes and conflicts and fightings. I kind of mentioned like the history of Rwanda. I didn't see it as much as I didn't see that in Southern Africa with like tribes and stuff like that. But do you have any knowledge or thoughts on the tribalism in Africa?
I think all that shit is like old and done with. You don't hear anyone speaking about tribes in the sense of like, I hate them. They might talk about a tribe's specific traits, like the Chaga is known for being cheap. So they'll be like, oh, cheap Chaga, it's their trait, you know what I'm saying? Or like, these people are known for this, and that's what they're known for, and that's what they do. But it's not like we hate these people type thing. That's over with.
I got the same results too. He said 23andMe is good. I learned I share some paternal lineage with Pharaoh Ramsey. Yeah, a lot of people share that. Mine came up with that as well. So we distant cousins somewhere along the line. I would say the last segment of the show, man. Just some things that came to my mind while we talking about East Africans. I've seen I don't know who did this video, but there were women of Somalia. They were talking about how Somalian men are taking their passports and going to Morocco for wives. And I was like, wow, like they literally Passport Bros International, like, and I'm thinking like you would think that part of East Africa, you would think like, Somalia, that's Ethiopia region, Eritrea, you would think women wouldn't be difficult to deal with, you know what I mean? But the men we're talking about, because places like Eritrea, Somalia, one of those countries, they're like considered one of the most expensive countries in Africa. And there's like, some of the Somalian dudes is like, Somalian women, they want you to do this, spend that, and they're giving them pushback and stuff like that. So it's like, how is that part of Africa that's typically known for having like control over their women, so to speak? Like, why are Somalian men having problems? They're going to Morocco, another Muslim country, to get wives. Like, I don't know if you heard that, but what's your thoughts on that?
I've never heard anyone ever talk about Somalian women in a good light, besides the fact that they look exotic. That was it. Have you ever heard of them making good wives or anything like that? Yeah, so I think they're problematic. I've heard a lot of negative things about the country and not to go there.
Yeah. But it's crazy though. What do you think about? Because I don't know if you in some of like these travel Facebook groups or anything, but you be in a lot of these male groups, and they'll post pictures of like Ethiopian women, Somalian women, a lot of different countries, and they'd be like, "Man, I'm gonna go here to find a wife." You know what I mean? Like, I heard these women is good and this and that, but it bothers me because these guys haven't traveled to these places, and they're so quick to just kind of make these assumptions about these countries. So you being a traveler, like, kind of talk about how important it is to see for yourself, and they can't be putting these countries on a high pedestal because it might not be what they expect.
But at the same time, like, you've seen me try to reason with people about stuff that you've seen that I was right about yourself, right? People just, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to. They have to see it. So my wisdom from traveling the world is what I got from actually doing it. So people need to do the same. They'll be like, okay, this place sucks, I won't come back. They have to waste the money. They have to waste the time. That's all I can say about that. People need, it's not enough for me to say the pot's hot, don't touch it. They're like, let me touch it. They're gonna do it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's why I encourage guys. Like a lot of people read stuff. Women too. A lot of you guys read stuff on the internet, get secondhand information, but you have to see it for yourself. Now you might not be able to see every country or a lot of countries, but you gotta narrow it down and try to see for yourself. I could give good information on countries I've been to a few times or spent a lot of time in, but other countries, even if I got secondhand information from Tony on a particular place, I still might have to see it for myself because his perspective is based on what he's looking for or what things stand out to him. You know what I mean? And my observations, I may notice things that he don't really care or paid attention to. So you gotta see a lot for yourself. He said a lot of dudes hype things up too, man. It's they make things look glamorous. They make it seem like it's easy. Like it's some guys that talk about they got a Kenyan, like I'm gonna use Kenya for example, a Kenyan wife. But a lot of men say it's hard to find a good wife in Kenya. So, you can't look at somebody's quote unquote success story and think that it's gonna happen with you because you don't know the dynamics. To be honest with you, there's guys I know that are going through it in their situations. They're not going to tell you about it. They're not going to tell you because it's a narrative. You know what I mean? It's not. It's a lot I still got to learn about African women. I only can speak on Latino women in Latin America, but it's not. It's not. Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood is not. Just women post challenges. I think everywhere, but I don't know what's your thoughts, Tony, man. Is it is it a walk in the park, man, for a guy to go to, let's say, East Africa and find what he's looking for? Is it going to take time?
I mean, it's always going to take time, but like guys going through it with foreign women, that is just crazy to me. You know what I'm saying? Like she would just be done and over with and get a new one. That's the whole point of the whole passport bros thing. You know what I'm saying? Like the whole scarcity mindset, you're supposed to leave that in America because vagina's scarce. It's hard to get it. They control the sexual marketplace, the whole dating thing, right? Controlled by women. This is controlled by us. So if your girl's not according to code, then she got to balance. You know what I'm saying? The door's open. You paying the rent, right? I'm paying the bills. I'm not going to be stressed out in a place. I'm paying the bills. Hell, well, it don't even make sense. It don't even make sense. I'm not doing that. No way.
Yeah, I mean that's a hard reality, man. Let me read this comment real quick. Everyone has their own preference. I had some of the best fun in my life in Choco. I've been to Choco. He said it's not for everyone, but some really nice areas, even though Colombia treats them like another country. Shout out to Kido. He said, if you didn't marry the woman you have now, no excuse. Where would she have been from in your experience to date? I would say because I haven't explored Africa like I explored Latin America. Like I've circled, like I did laps around Brazil and DR and Colombia until I realized Colombia checked the most boxes, and then I kind of started focusing on Colombia. With Africa, I would say that based on where I've been and the opportunities I see, I would say I would probably be, I don't know yet, but I would say this: the countries that I would still research is probably like Uganda, Rwanda, and maybe some of the West African countries to see. I want to visit Malawi, for example. Now, the women I find the most attractive is Tanzanian women. However, you know, the way to like get to live there, you know, I could meet the requirements for a retirement visa. That don't mean I don't have a right to it. I don't have a right to get a retirement visa. It's a privilege, even if I meet the requirements. I learned that about Colombia. You know, I didn't have a right to certain things. Even, you know, Colombia, a whole different conversation. But I don't even want to live in Colombia no more because of the safety issue. So, you know, so that creates a dynamic in my situation because I don't want to live in Colombia no more. You know, because it's becoming more and more unsafe. But yeah, I would say, you know, a handful of countries: Rwanda, Uganda, and I would say I want to, like I said, I want to visit Gambia, Liberia, and what's the other country? Sierra Leone, just to see. But based on where I've been, I would just say, based on where I've been, I would probably say Uganda, based on where I've been. So yeah, let's see. Howie Giles, you should definitely check out Nigeria, my brother. I mean, I'm 2025, man. God willing, man. God willing. I'm gonna do it, man. I'm gonna do it right. I got obviously a lot of us. I got Nigerian homies in the U.S. They're gonna make sure I'm good, you know. So I'm gonna do it, man. It's one of those things. It's like when I first went to Africa. I didn't want to go, Tony. I didn't want to come to Africa. It was just so much pressure because people was like, you know, you should go to, we should go. I was putting pressure on myself, like I need to visit Africa. I've been going to all these Latin countries, Asia, you go to Africa. I didn't want to go. But I was just like, let me just go just so, you know, I could say I went. I didn't want to go, but then I ended up liking it. So I could go to Nigeria and be like, man, it's not how I thought it was. So we'll see.
I felt the same way, man. I didn't want to come here. I was dancing around it. You know what I'm saying? I was like, let me go Brazil. Let me try this, try that. And then I was like, you know, because a white boy actually gave me the best advice. He was like, you like black women. It doesn't make sense to be in Latin America. And I sat down, I thought about it. And I was like, you know what? You're right. go to Africa.
That's
Go to
true.
Africa.
That's
Ended up
true.
living ended up living here. I just wanted a place where black people belong, man. Like we don't really, if you think about it, right? We talk about Colombia, Brazil, right? All those places. What's the one commonality they all have? Black people are oppressed in those places. It's just what it is. And it's open too. Everyone knows. People talk about racism in America. Racism in Brazil is way worse than racism in America. And they have way more black people than we do. And it's
Yeah.
worse. How sad is that, right? It's pitiful. That's why I'm good. I don't want to be, you know, if I wasn't white, if I wasn't black, I would live if I was a white dude, I would live maybe in South America, you know what I'm saying? Or Asia. Asia's like heaven for white dudes, actually. But
Yeah.
for us, I think honestly, Africa is the best. I've been around the world, you know, Africa, you get treated the best.
That's true. That's true.
That,
Yeah, if you're a black man, Africa is probably the best, you know.
where else are we not second class or third class citizens? You know what I'm saying? Like, where else?
Yeah. I mean, outside of
Especially the
Africa, I mean, America is like it. Like Africa is like my 1A and America is my 1B because if it ain't Africa, I ain't trying to go nowhere else.
right. I agree with that. Like America is probably the only other place besides Africa where it's like cool enough. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, even the UK is not. Even the UK is like, you know, we still do better in the US than we would even in the UK.
Yeah, man, it's just the reality, and a lot of people have to face that truth. You know what I'm saying? Like, just like some dudes got to face the truth that they big and fat and they got to lose weight to be successful in relationships. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just what it is. It's just what it is. If they want the hot girl, you know what I mean? Like, if you want the hot chick, you got to make some self improvement. The hot girl's not going to be with the dude that has titties. It's just what it is. You know what I mean? Am I telling any lies?
Well,
You know what I'm saying?
All facts. Swat Prince said, "What about African islands? Africa has like 6." I would say, I mean, I haven't been, but I mean, the homie Jay Focus, I mean, him and others, they gave like a thumbs downs on like Mauritius. Then you got Madagascar, which, you know, I would say this. I heard a lot of good things about Madagascar. Then you got Cape Verde and Sao Tome. I can't forget the name. But yeah, I've heard people were disappointed in Cape Verde. Like, it wasn't what they necessarily expected.
That place sucks, bro. You could just look it up. You know what I'm saying? Look up Cape Verde.
Yeah, I mean, my homie one of the homies went to Cape Verde. He said that's the only country where he didn't hook up with women, man. He just said it was just I'm sure they got some baddies there though, but it ain't nothing.
They're just white-fied. That's all it is. There's some bad ones. Like, you seen the Cape Verde girls, they're bad, but they don't like brothers like that.
That's true. Maybe you can answer this one. Aldo said, "What about Salvador Bahia? Isn't it like the Mecca for Black Brazilians?"
It's the Mecca for homo Black Brazilians. For homo Mecca. And I'm not being offensive to it. I'm just saying it's what it is. I'm not using the derogatory word. It's just like a homosexual cesspool for blacks in Salvador Bahia. So if you want to go check it out, go check it out.
Yeah, I've been to Salvador. I would say I was very disappointed to see that the city that has the most Afro-Brazilians was not a majority black city. It's a majority. You can see it. It's a majority like white skin. Even though they have the largest black population, Brazil doesn't even have a majority black city. Like, think about that. At least in the United States, we got like Detroit. I mean, I'm based out of like Philly. You can see the black. You can see the black population, Camden, Newark, New Jersey, Gary, Indiana. There's a lot of, we have majority black cities, you know what I mean? Whereas the black mayor, you know, most of the political people are black. Like, we got majority black cities, and people rant and rave on how Brazil had the most enslaved people. Brazil is the blackest country outside of Africa. No, it's not. No, it's not. They don't have no majority black cities. So, you know, I don't want to go in on Brazil, but that's just.
No, they're still enslaved. They're still enslaved. You don't see black people in none of the major areas in Brazil. None of the nice upscale places, you won't see any black people unless they're serving. And that's even rare to see a black server. That's sad.
Swab Prince says, Corey said, I lived in Southeast Asia for about a year. I was treated great for the most part, but colorism and anti-black racism is integral. Let's see. The racism in Colombia is worse as well. What saved me from being from the U.S. Then they became friendly with smiles and curiosity. I can't read this name. He said it's Tanzania that wants Black Americans to go to West Africa. Yeah, Uganda, Kenya, and Ethiopia likes Black Americans.
I would say that. Well, they don't want us to go to, they don't care. They want our money. Tanzania, they just don't care. They just want your money. That's it. But I would say Kenya wants Black Americans. Uganda, not so much. Uganda just wants the foreign dollar. But Kenya actually wants Black Americans there. Yes, I agree with that.
Shout out to Kenya, man. Shout out to Kenya for that. Yeah. Damn. It's obvious. Damn, man. We can't have nothing. See, Black Americans are sleeping on Equatorial Guinea. It's a Latin country in Africa. I've looked into it. I look at certain characteristics, but I mean, you could probably say the same about Guyana too. Maybe guys should check out. Let's see.
Nah, Guyana's trash.
This trash? Oh man. Women look like Cape Verdeans. I've seen some pretty Guyanas, but you know, a lot of them seem like they still have a westernized way of, you know, thinking.
It's super westernized. They're super materialistic. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not what people think it's gonna be.
Mozambique. Yes, they speak English in Equatorial Guinea. And it says, have you guys learned Swahili? Have you learned Swahili?
Tajua Kidogo Swahili. I know a little bit. I know a little Swahili. It's a little hard. It's not that hard. It's just I haven't put the time in for it. Rwandan women are fine.
Yes, they are fine, man. Them and Tanzanian women, man. But yeah, man, I'm gonna wrap up the stream, man. I don't know if you
all right, man. I just want to show support. You know what I'm saying? But, all right, brother.
All right, man. Appreciate you popping in, man. Make sure y'all check out Traveling Tony as he embarks on his new life with his wife in Tanzania, man. I definitely appreciate y'all tuning in on Afro-Sundays. See if I catch some last comments real quick. He said the Tutsi are fine. Okay. Yeah, I've been reading up on Rwanda. He said time to get out of America and start making opportunity overseas. Yes, sir. Yes, you're welcome, Swab Prince. He said, Traveling Tony. Yes, he is a Black American. Yes, sir. Appreciate y'all tuning in, man. If y'all not subscribed, man, please subscribe. Please hit the like button on your way out. Likes are for free. And I will be here next Sunday here on Afro-Sundays. Peace out.